Welcome to News9's continuous coverage when it comes to what is happening in Israel-Hamas war, which has entered day 5 on Wednesday, and Israeli troops have killed at least 1,000 Palestinian gunmen who had infiltrated in the Gaza region, especially when they carry out their incursions on Saturday. Now, what we understand to be told is that the Israelis are saying that have also ensured that they have razed sections of Gaza as it takes revenge for its worst Hamas assault in 75 years. Israel carried out airstrikes across Gaza throughout the last 5 days, and they have taken out infrastructure which they suspect belongs to the Hamas terrorist group. It is being said that in the retaliatory bombing, the killing must have led to the region in fact being shaken when it comes to the people in that area, and 900 people are said to have been wounded, while 4,600 people are said to have left the region where the bombing has been kind of intensive. There is said to be around 2.3 to 2.6 million residents in Gaza. Now, the Israeli army has said that it has destroyed advanced monitoring systems that have been developed by the Hamas that was used to detect aircraft over Gaza region. Palestinians started their day with gunpowder and dust in the air. Palestine has made serious allegations against Israel, accusing it of using phosphorus bombs as well during the attack on Gaza. And on the political side of the story, US President Joe Biden is sending his top diplomat Anthony Blinken to Israel in an urgent mission to show US support after a major terrorist attack that had taken place in Israel. Blinken will leave for Tel Aviv and will hold talks with the top Israeli diplomats and its government officials. These are in fact visuals that show how the bombs were in fact used across the region. And let's in fact tell you some of the claims that have been made by some of Israel's enemies as well. It is being said by the Hezbollah, who is now claiming that it has visuals that reveal that Israeli regime is in fact using thermite or phosphorus munitions in southern Lebanon. These are visuals that they claim are proof of what Israelis have been using as a weapon against the Hezbollah militants. Meanwhile, in southern Lebanon, especially in southern Lebanon area, it is the Hezbollah that has been engaging with the Israeli army. There are fears that the northern border of Israel could become a conflict point as Hezbollah has gone ahead and given their support to Hamas for its attacks on Israel. These are thermite ammunitions that are being used is what the Hezbollah has been claiming. Thermite ammunitions in fact consist of white phosphorus. Phosphorus bombs are technically banned by several countries on humanitarian grounds because of the kind of damage it creates. It is said to affect the environment and also create irreparable damage when it comes to the infrastructure, and is considered to be cruel when it comes to its usage in a war zone, because the white phosphorus keeps burning, and there are several conventions and there have been several countries that have come together to ban the phosphorus bombs as it's been called. And it is being said that phosphorus bombs are being used in northern Israeli border areas as well as in South Lebanon. These are claims that have been made by the Hezbollah, which is another militant organization and terror organization that is in fact engaging the Israelis in the northern border. So let us in fact explain to you why the phosphorus bombs are considered to be an important aspect of this war, and why is that Hezbollah is in fact raising this concern as well. Phosphorus bombs, as I told you earlier, are said to be banned in many countries, and many of the conventions have in fact also tried to ban it. It's a wax-like chemical substance which smells like garlic, which is in fact the chemical that is in fact used when it comes to phosphorus ammunition. It ignites and burns fast and bright on contact with oxygen, and it sustains also in that burning. Very difficult to extinguish and sticks to clothing and skin. One of the reasons that has been highlighted by several anti-war activists, saying that why phosphorus ammunition should be banned, can even burn through metal, thus high risk for civilians as such. So this is considered to be a very horrendous weapon that is being in use. So use of phosphorus in war isn't banned but regulated. But however, there are several organizations that are in fact have had self-bans when it comes to the production of phosphorus bombs. Meanwhile, let us in fact take a look at what's happening at the northern border of Israel, which is southern Lebanon, when it comes to the theater of war that we are looking at. Israeli tanks and other military vehicles on the road are passing through the hills near the Israeli-Lebanon border. Israel has deployed army personnel there. It is around 35 kilometers from the Lebanese border. This means that if Hezbollah fighters enter Israel in the event of an attack from Lebanon, they can counter them within 35 kilometers. News9's reporter Manish Jha is on the ground, and he gets us the latest on the movement of the Israeli army towards the Lebanese border.
मैं इस वक्त इजराइल और लेबनान के बॉर्डर के पास हूं, और जैसे जैसे हम इस रास्ते में आगे बढ़ते गए, हमने देखा कि किस तरह से इजरायली डिफेंस फोर्स लेबनान वाली अपनी सीमा पर अपनी सेना की ताकत को बढ़ाने में जुटी हुई है। हम सबसे पहले आपको दिखाते हैं। देखिए, सामने में आप ऊंची ऊंची पहाड़ियां देख रहे हैं। दरअसल इजराइल के इस हिस्से में आपको इस तरह के जो है वो संरचना दिखाई देती है। आप देखिए कि इन पहाड़ियों के बीच में से जो रास्ता जाता है, वहाँ पर देखिए सामने में हमारे कैमरा सहयोगी अमित आपको दिखा रहे हैं कई सारे जो टैंक हैं, उन सब टैंकों को यहाँ पर लेकर आगे बढ़ा जा रहा है। और इसके अलावा बहुत सारे मिलिट्री पर्सनल्स को मैंने रास्ते में देखा, उनकी गाड़ियाँ देखी, बहुत सारे मिलिट्री व्हीकल्स देखे जिसमें ट्रूप्स आगे बढ़ रही है, और इस तरह से बड़ी संख्या में तैनाती हो रही है बॉर्डर पर, क्योंकि सामने जो चुनौती है वो इजराइल की नज़र में एक बड़ी चुनौती है, और वो चुनौती है हिजबुल्लाह की। लेबनान का एक ऐसा मिलिट्री ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो काफ़ी पावरफुल है, और इजराइल डिफेंस फोर्सेस और लेबनान के हिजबुल्लाह के बीच जब जब लड़ाई हुई है, उसमें हार और जीत का फैसला नहीं हो पाया है। और इसी वजह से इस बार इजराइल अपनी पूरी ताकत लेबनान सीमा पर भी लगाना चाहता है, क्योंकि उन्हें शक है कि हमास की मदद के लिए हिजबुल्लाह भी यहां से एक्शन कर सकता है। और यही वजह है कि बॉर्डर से लेकर और इजराइल के भीतर लगभग 30-35 किलोमीटर की दूरी पर, और इस वक्त आप देखिए कि कैमरे पर आपको बहुत सारे इस तरह के ट्रूप्स और दूसरी व्हीकल्स जाते हुए। अमित दिखाइए जरा सा, फिर देखिए रोड पर जो दूसरे और लोग हैं, दूसरे और मिलिट्री व्हीकल्स वो आगे बढ़ते हुए। तो अब आप देखिए कि इस तरह का डेवलपमेंट आपको दिखाई देता है, काफ़ी करेज, और दूसरी तरह की तमाम जो रसद सामग्री है वो सब भी यहाँ दिखाई दे रही है कि जो लेकर ये बॉर्डर की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं। तो आप देखिए कि लोग आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, लोगों के साथ साथ ट्रूप्स जो है वो उनकी पोजीशन है। और मुझे एक बात और जो यहाँ पर इम्पोर्टेंट दिखी कि बॉर्डर से करीब 35 किलोमीटर भीतर तक इन्होंने अपने टैंक और दूसरे मिलिट्री इक्विपमेंट्स को इन्होंने पोजीशन कर रखा है। तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि इजराइल अब अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए किस कदर तैयारी में जुटा है, ताकि वो दुश्मन के किसी भी चुनौती का सामना कर सके। और यही वजह है कि इजराइल उन सभी दुश्मन देशों को पर नज़र भी बनाए हुए है जो इस सिचुएशन का फ़ायदा उठाने की फिराक में लगे हुए हैं। और ऐसे में सबसे बड़ी स्थिति का सामना होगा जब उत्तर, यानी कि इजराइल के नदर्न इलाके में जो इजराइल लेबनान बॉर्डर पर जो स्थितियां अभी बन रही है, उसका इजराइल किस तरीके से सामना करता है।
Well, there is some very, very disturbing news also coming in when it comes to the Israeli action that is taking place as well. Well, as the war goes on one side, there are stories of horror that is coming in when it comes to Israel. It is being said that in Kfar Aza, located just 3 kilometers from the Gaza Strip. There is a phase with full force of Hamas assault on the southern Israeli border. Israeli officials and on-site reporters were left in shock as Hamas terrorists ruthlessly took the lives of at least 40 babies and young children. This is one of the shocking aspects of it being described by a report that is coming in I-24, a news outlet in Israel. Now, the shock that comes from it is that in this particular kibbutz, it's being said that 40 babies and young children were beheaded. This is the shocking news that's coming in when Israeli soldiers, in fact, went to the kibbutz area, and it is being said that this is being reported from a portal called I-24, a news outlet called I-24. So these horrifying details were shared by the Israeli forces, and they said that they were completely distressed when they reached the scene, as they were one of the first responders to that particular area. Approximately 70 Hamas terrorists had carried out these heinous acts using guns, grenades, as well as knives. This is the biggest and shocking news coming in, reported by I-24, where children and babies were beheaded in Kfar Aza, which is an Israeli kibbutz. Kibbutz is a settlement of Israelis. They, in fact, it is a kind of a social community kind of situation that we see, and in that kibbutz is where this allegedly happened, is what we understand, and this has been reported by I-24. Well, there have been also several reports coming in from Lebanon as well. My colleague, as I was saying, was at the border with Lebanon, where tension is in fact building with Israel. Let's listen into one of his reports coming in with regard to what is happening at the Lebanon border.
मैं आपको बताऊं कि भले ही दुनिया की नजरें इस वक्त हमास और गाजा पट्टी पर हो, लेकिन इजराइल लेबनान बॉर्डर वो जगह है जो कि इस युद्ध के स्केल को बहुत बड़ा कर सकता है। और इस वक्त टीवी 9 की टीम इजराइल लेबनान बॉर्डर के पास पहुंची हुई है, और इस इलाके की जो टेरिटरी है उसको मैं पहले आपको दिखाऊं। देखिए मेरे पीछे जो आप देख रहे हैं, इस इलाके में आपको इस तरह की ऊंची ऊंची पहाड़ियां मिलेंगी, और ऊंची ऊंची पहाड़ियों के बीच में मैंने 2-3 जो नोटिस किया है बात, वो ये चीज सबसे पहले हमारे कैमरा सहयोगी आपको दिखाएंगे कि इस बॉर्डर के पास जो लगातार ट्रूप्स को डिप्लॉय किया जा रहा है और टैंक को डिप्लॉय किया जा रहा है। देखिए 1, 2, 3, 4 टैंक को यहाँ पर जो है वो व्हीकल्स पर तैनात है, जिसको आगे बढ़ाकर फिर पोजीशन पर डिप्लॉय किया जाएगा। लगातार यहाँ से दूसरे मिलिट्री व्हीकल्स को जाते हुए मैं देख रहा हूँ, और जो मैंने नोटिस किया है यहाँ पर सैकड़ों की संख्या में मुझे सैनिकों के कार दिखाई दिए हैं, यानी कि वो लोग अपने अपने कार को पार्किंग में लगाकर और फिर अपनी पोजीशन को लिए हुए हैं। तो हाथ में हथियार है, अपनी कार से आते हैं, कार को कहीं पर लगा दे रहे हैं, और इस बॉर्डर के आसपास 35 से 40 किलोमीटर का जो एरिया है वहां पर उन्होंने अपनी सेना को तैनात कर रखा है। तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि इसका मतलब यह है कि उन्हें इस बात की आशंका है कि अगर यहां पर स्थिति बढ़ी, अगर लेबनान की तरफ से हमला हुआ, तो वैसी स्थिति में ज्यादा संभावना यह है कि अगर वो इजरायली सीमा के अंदर घुसे तो 35 किलोमीटर तक उनका सामना किया जा सके। इस तरह की तैयारी यहां इजरायल ने लेबनान बॉर्डर पर कर रखी है।
Meanwhile, an Israeli cargo plane has landed. It is delivering initial shipment of advanced weaponry from the United States to Israel. The United States has gone ahead and pledged its support. The equipment was procured and brought to Israel by the Israelis Ministry of Defense. The U.S. Procurement Mission and the International Transportation Unit are the ones who have ensured that this advanced weaponry is delivered on time, especially for the IDF, which has been using specialized weapons to target Hamas, which is crucial enough to ensure that collateral damage of civilians can also be avoided. So specialized weapons have been arriving and advanced weapons have been arriving in from the United States, and the United States has been pledging its support for Israel's cause of hitting back against the Hamas terrorists. They coordinated the mobilization of the cargo plane, ensuring that the direct transport of armaments from the United States is unhindered. And these are in fact visuals coming in on the advanced weaponry that is being delivered to the IDF at this moment. And the Israelis have pledged that they will in fact strike hard at the Hamas terrorists for carrying out the terrorist strike against them. Meanwhile, a CCTV footage has in fact appeared where it is being said that in the south of Israel, this is in fact from the South First Responders, in the south of Israel on October 10th, the CCTV footage captured the crucial moments when the Palestinian militants arrived at Yakini near Sderot, where there was a huge gun battle with the Israeli forces, during which civilians have sought refuge in the trunk of a car before eventually making their escape from the scenes. These visuals in fact show you how with impunity the Palestinian terrorists in fact walked into this particular area in Sderot. Sderot, in fact, turning out to be the epicenter of the attacks of the Hamas militants. And then you have the civilians rushing into the trunk of their car and trying to escape from the terrorists who have broken through the Israeli cordon and in Sderot. And you can see the kind of a situation that we are in fact seeing, where a gunfight is happening at that moment between the Israeli forces as well as the Hamas militants. There, the survivors trying to survive, they try to get into the trunk of the car. Meanwhile, Hamas in fact launched rockets towards Israel as Israeli airstrikes continue to pound Gaza City for the fourth consecutive day after the Islamist Palestinian movement's surprise onslaught over the weekend. What we see are the visuals coming in of the Israeli strikes on Gaza as a response to the rocket attack that was carried out on Israel. There have been several instances of rockets still being fired from the Gaza site, and there have been also reports that the Israeli airstrikes have been targeting several rocket launch pads that have been set up by the Hamas in Gaza. There have been several rocket launch sites that have been knocked out by the Israeli army as well as the Air Force. But however, in certain locations, especially with the ability to reassemble these rocket launchers as well as to ensure that it is considered to be quite effective when it comes to strikes across Ashkelon as well. These rockets are being in fact used to target Israeli targets from Gaza, and a barrage of rockets were again fired from the Gaza region. Meanwhile, a barrage of rockets has stopped over Israel's coastal city of Ashkelon, but some of them did manage to breach the Israeli air defenses and struck a residential area. This had resulted in blowing of smoke in that particular neighborhood. Israel has announced that it had reclaimed Gaza's border territories from the Hamas militants, as the death toll from the ongoing war has surpassed almost 3,000. This marks the fifth day of the intense conflict since the surprise attack by Hamas through land, air and sea. Meanwhile, the rockets are still being fired from the Gazan areas, and some of them have breached the air defense security that has been set up by Israel. More visuals are coming in of the rocket barrage from the Gaza area. Hamas has followed with its threat to continue with the rocket barrage, and there you can see from the visuals as they fire some of these unguided rockets straight into Israeli territory, and these areas, especially from where it's being fired, are targeting Ashkelon, which is a city which is very close to the Gaza Strip. And these targets or these unguided rockets are in fact landing in areas in Ashkelon. Ashkelon is one of those cities in Israel that face the brunt of the Hamas rocket barrage. Meanwhile, smokes have been rising as trucks depart from Gaza's Rafah border crossing with Egypt after Israeli airstrike. This crossing, which is Gaza's sole bypass from Israel, has been struck by an air attack for the second time in just 24 hours, as confirmed by witnesses and rights groups. Israel has been stopping the possible escape of Hamas militants through this particular Rafah crossing. Rafah crossing connects the Gaza Strip with Egypt. Several people have been fleeing through the Rafah crossing into Egypt, and Rafah crossing has been hit twice by Israeli bombardment. This is to in fact stop any of the militants from escaping and fleeing into Egypt. These are in fact visuals coming in of, you can see the vehicles in which many of them are fleeing Gaza Strip through the Rafah crossing, and this particular crossing is crucial for the people in Palestine when it comes to their crossing into Egypt. Well, here again visuals, this is from the pre-dawn strikes that were carried out in Gaza. Smoke seen in several high-rises being made to rubble by the Israeli Air Force as they target Hamas in their relentless bombardment of Gaza. It's been 5 days since the bombing has begun. Especially it became a response to the Hamas attack on southern Israel. Immediate response was given by the Israeli Air Force, and they started targeting several targets within the Gaza Strip, and several areas, especially high-rises that have been used for rocket launches, have also been targeted. Buildings associated with Hamas as well as its members have also been destroyed. Meanwhile, the relentless strike by the Israelis in fact continued, and we can see how they pounded the Hamas targets in Palestinian enclaves 5 days after the attack by the Hamas on Israel's territory. These are pre-dawn raids that were carried out against the Hamas targets in that area. Also, it is being said that efforts are on to prepare for a possible ground invasion of Gaza to flush out the remaining Hamas leadership. The Israelis have in fact decided to first soften up the targets by bombing the possible locations and also ammunition hideouts of the Hamas terrorist group, and after that they are looking at a possible ground invasion of the area. Meanwhile, there have been satellite images that have been released that show the nature of damage because of Israel's bombing campaign in Gaza Strip. Several high-rises in Gaza City have disappeared after Israel's attack. It shows the full length of the damage that Israel has inflicted on the Hamas leadership in Gaza. Buildings have been selectively targeted. Those buildings that have been used by the Hamas leadership, even for weapon storage, whether it's of religious nature as well, have been targeted by the Israeli Air Force, and anything associated with using those infrastructure against Israel, especially when it comes to the launching of rockets, all those buildings have been targeted. And this is the satellite imagery that shows the kind of damage several high-rises turned into rubble within Gaza. Meanwhile, in a powerful and deeply emotional speech from the White House, President Joe Biden strongly condemned the recent attacks by Hamas on the close ally of the United States, Israel. The president did not mince words, calling them as sheer evil acts, and he made it clear that the United States is fully prepared to send additional military support to the region to stand by Israel. During his televised address, President Biden spoke about the horrific acts committed by the Palestinian militant group, as well as the terrorists who were involved in the attack on the southern Israel region. And he said that it is heartbreaking that has been the situation that he sees over there, and has also said that they would stand with Israel. President Biden also confirmed that at least 14 Americans have tragically lost their lives, and some have been taken as hostages by Hamas. This is a situation we cannot ignore, is what he said in his televised address.
You know, there are moments in this life And I mean this literally, when the pure, unadulterated evil is unleashed on this world. The people of Israel lived through one such moment this weekend. The bloody hands of the terrorist organization Hamas, a group whose stated purpose for being is to kill Jews. This was an act of sheer evil. More than 1,000 civilians slaughtered, not just killed, slaughtered in Israel. We now know that American citizens are among those being held by Hamas. I've directed my team to share intelligence and deploy additional experts from across the United States government to consult with and advise Israeli counterparts on hostage recovery efforts. The United States has also enhanced our military force posture in the region to strengthen our deterrence. The Department of Defense has moved the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group to the Eastern Mediterranean and bolstered our fighter aircraft presence. And we stand ready to move in additional assets as needed. I just got off the phone with a third call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I told him the United States experience what Israel is experiencing, our response would be swift, decisive, and overwhelming. We also discussed how democracies like Israel and the United States are stronger and more secure when we act according to the rule of law. Terrorists purposely
Amid the Israel conflict with Hamas, U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford has in fact gone ahead and moved towards its Eastern Mediterranean location. It is the location that has been given and assigned to the U.S. Navy. The carrier group in fact is set to be sent to the region to give support to Israel and also to in fact warn neighboring nations and to prevent them from entering into the Israeli-Hamas war. What we understand is that the USS Gerald R. Ford, with its 8 squadrons of attack and support aircraft and the Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser USS Normandy, as well as the Auerbach-class guided missile destroyers USS Thomas Hunter, USS Ramage, USS Carney and USS Roosevelt are all part of this carrier group, and they are at their location off the coast of Israel to immediately join in if Israel is threatened by any other nations that would want to be part of this war that Hamas has in fact carried out. There have been several threats when it comes to other nations joining the war, and the US has pledged its support to Israel, saying that it will ensure that no other nation is going to in fact enter this war between Hamas and Israel. Meanwhile, the ground report coming in from News9 reporters speak about the army moving swiftly at what Sumit, one of our reporters on the ground, is telling us when it comes to the movement of the Israeli army in that area.
और इस समय sderot में है और एक बार फिर से यहाँ पर अटैक किए गए हैं। और अगर आप देखें कि अभी फोर्सेस के साथ में मौजूद थे जहाँ पर ये अटैक किए गए हैं, और देखिए कुछ जगहों को जिनको अटैक किया गया है वहाँ पर रेजिडेंशियल भी लोग बाहर आए हैं और अभी मोटे तौर पर इस रेजिडेंशियल एरिया को टारगेट किया गया है। फोर्सेस के साथ हम यहाँ मौजूद है, कई मल्टीपल जगहों के ऊपर ये अटैक किए गए हैं। हालांकि कहाँ पर शेल गिरा है ये एसेस करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। हम इस समय मौजूद हैं और देखिए अभी यहाँ के जो लोग हैं वो दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। देखिए सड़कों पर और ऊपर आप देखें कि लोग अपने रेजिडेंशियल एरिया पे है और वो इशारा करके हमको बता रहे हैं कि देखिए उस तरफ अटैक हुआ है। और ये sderot का वो इलाका है जहाँ पर रॉकेट से कई जगहों पर मल्टीपल जगहों पर अटैक हुए हैं। देखिए सबसे पहले मैं कि आपको sderot में दिखा देता हूं जिस घर के अंदर कई घरों के अंदर यहाँ रॉकेट गिरे थे। और देखिए जिस घर में मैं आपको लेकर जा रहा हूं ये वो घर है जहां पर अभी रॉकेट गिरा है, यानी यहां पर शेल अभी गिरा है। देखिए पीछे की तरफ इस इलाके से यहां पर ये शेल गिरा है। मेरे कैमरा पर्सन और मैं आपको दिखाएंगे। हम आपको अंदर भी लेकर जाएंगे घर में, जहां पर हम अभी थोड़ी देर पहले यहाँ पहुंचे हैं। और देखिए यहाँ से अभी एक शेल आकर इनके इस एरिया के अंदर जाकर हिट किया, अगर मेरे कैमरा पर्सन आपको दिखा पा रहे हो। और यहाँ इस घर के अंदर कितना डैमेज हुआ है ये भी मैं आपको दिखा देता हूँ। देखिए क्योंकि सderot वो इलाका है जो बहुत करीब है खास तौर पर इन इलाकों में, और हमारी कोशिश यही है। देखिए जब मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ तब भी मुझे बम्बारमेंट की आवाज़ लगातार सुनाई दे रही है, लगातार यहाँ पर शेल फायर किए जा रहे हैं। और अब से थोड़ी देर पहले मल्टीपल रॉकेट्स आगे गए थे सderot में, और इसी वजह से सderot के इन इलाकों के अंदर लगातार लोगों में दहशत है। देखिए इस घर के अंदर वो रॉकेट शेल आकर गिरे हैं, और अभी क्योंकि हम जब इस घर में आए तो उसकी एम्यूनेशंस की स्मेल हम महसूस कर सकते हैं। देखिए यहां पर वो डैमेजेस हुए हैं इस घर के अंदर, और ये लाइव डैमेजेस या फिर आप मैं कहता हूं लाइव शेल मैं आपको दिखाता हूं। देखिए ये है वो शेल्स जो लगातार इस जगहों पर आके पड़े हैं। देखिए ये आप देख पा रहे होंगे, यही वो रॉकेट्स के शेल हैं जो इस घर को बर्बाद किया है। और अगर मेरे कैमरा पर्सन थोड़ा सा अंदर और आए और दिखाएं कि देखिए आपको नजर आएगा कि वो तबाही की मंजर या फिर तबाही की जो तस्वीरें हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं बिल्कुल सderot के इलाकों से, वो यही तस्वीरें हैं। और देखिए अगर आप दिखाएं कि क्या इस समय आलम है, किस तरीके से डैमेजेस हुए हैं, पूरा घर का पिछला हिस्सा तहस नहस हो गया है। और देखिए ये सderot, और अगर आप देखें तो आपको धुआं नजर आएगा, आपको एम्यूनेशन की स्मेल हम लोग यहाँ से महसूस कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा इन इलाकों को क्षति पहुंची है प्रतिमा। और देखिए हर इलाके में, क्योंकि जो लोकल्स हैं वो इसलिए यहाँ दहशत में रहते हैं क्योंकि कभी भी यहाँ पर इस तरीके के अटैक हो जाते हैं। और देखिए लगातार मैं और मेरे कैमरा पर्सन निशान जो हैं वो इन इलाकों में घूम रहे हैं, ना सिर्फ सderot के इलाकों में बल्कि आप कह सकते हैं कि जो दूसरे सदर्न इलाके हैं जहां पर सबसे पहले घुसपैठ की थी। और सderot इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि यहीं पर मैं आपको बार बार बता रहा हूं कि सderot में सबसे ज़्यादा इन्फिल्ट्रेशन पॉइंट से सबसे ज़्यादा घुसपैठ यहीं पर की थी। लोगों को स्टैंड पे, बस स्टैंड पे महिलाएं खड़ी थी 5-5, 6-6, उनको वहीं मार दिया गया, उनके गले काट दिए गए। जो मैस्केयर था, जो तबाही थी, वो यहीं पर हुई। और इसी के बाद उन्होंने इसी जगह के पुलिस स्टेशन को हॉस्टेज के तौर पर इस्तेमाल किया। तो देखिए हम लगातार सderot के इलाकों में, और दूसरी तरफ जो आप मेरे से दूसरा सवाल आप पूछ रही थी कि देखिए अभी क्या हालात हैं खासतौर पर इन इलाकों में, और किस तरीके से जो IDF ने कहा वो बिल्कुल सही कहा, क्योंकि एक जो बर्बरता की गई शवों के साथ, लोगों के साथ, महिलाओं के साथ, वो निश्चित तौर पर डराने वाली है। और ये शायद हमास की कोशिश भी यही थी कि ऐसा कुछ किया जाए ताकि दहशत भर दी जाए इजराइल के लोगों में। लेकिन शायद इजराइल का एक कहते हैं कि उनका एक कॉन्सेप्ट है कि दे ऑलवेज बाउंस बैक। तो ये बाउंस बैक वाला जो सिचुएशन है या फिर जो अभी कंडीशन है वो इजराइल की है। और इजराइल इसलिए लगातार अभी गाजा पर ना सिर्फ अटैक कर रहा है बल्कि हमास के ऊपर भी ताबड़तोड़ हमले किए जा रहे हैं। सderot में यहाँ इस समय
Well, News9's Sumaira Khan had a candid conversation with Palestinian ambassador to India, Adnan Abu Elijah, regarding the Israel-Hamas war. The Palestinian envoy, during the discussion with News9, condemned violence on both sides and accused Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of wanting to keep Hamas and Fatah divided. The Palestinian ambassador asserted that India can play the role of an intermediary. We leave you with this.
नमस्कार, स्वागत है आपका TV9 भारतवर्ष में। आपके साथ मैं हूं सुमैरा खान और मेरे साथ मौजूद हैं भारत में पैलेस्टाइन के एम्बेसडर अदनान अबू अल हाइजा। A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for talking to TV9 भारतवर्ष.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for having me with you at TV9.
I know it's a very difficult time, the time that we are talking to you. What is happening in Israel, Palestine right now between Hamas and Israel. First and foremost, what I would want to know from you is what is your perspective? What is your government's perspective on what has happened?
What has happened, I think the Palestinian people face a very difficult time since this occupation has been in Palestine, and especially with this extreme government with Netanyahu, Ben Gvir and Smotrich from the beginning of this year. They are killing people, leaving their members of settlers, doing everything bad with the Israeli occupation forces in West Bank. They have killed 260 people before the Saturday, and yesterday they have killed 16 of civilian people in West Bank just because they demonstrate, and the day before they killed 7 people. So I think the Palestinian people has fed up of the operation of this occupation and what they face daily of the occupation. This, I think, it could be main reason. The other thing that the operation has come from Gaza, and when you look to Gaza, there is 2.2 million living in open prison. They don't have any hope. They are not free to move from Gaza anywhere. The poverty in Gaza is about 70%. So all that did not give the Palestinian any hope with this occupation. If the occupation is not there, I think there is no war, there is no fight, there is no discrimination of this country, the occupation.
So you're saying that these people, these 2.2 million people who are living in Gaza, and as you say that they're living in an open prison, do you see that they see hope in the way Hamas is doing this?
I don't know exactly to say the truth. I mean, but always I blame the occupation. I mean, if there is no occupation, the people will live free. They can find their future, maybe outside Gaza. They might, if they are free, come to West Bank. They might go to work in the Gulf countries, anywhere in the world. And end this percentage of poverty. Hope we will find a solution to the Palestinian cause and end the occupation to live like any other people in the land of Palestine.
What I would want to know, and what I think a lot of people would want to know from you, is that the means and the way that Hamas has chosen, is that supported by the people in Palestine or by you? How do you see that, the way that they have gone about it?
For sure, there is some people between the Palestinian pro-Hamas. Hamas is main part of the Palestinian people. We can't ignore that, right? And they have some people pro-Hamas in West Bank also, not only in Gaza. Let's give the Palestinian hope, right? In the occupation, there won't be Hamas, there won't be Fatah. It will be a political party only. There is no arm. The arm, it will be with the government only. And with mainly police, right? But with the occupation, the situation will continue. And I hope, and I blame the international community, because this is not the first war. And we warned many times that if Israel has not come to accountability, they will continue what they are doing. And this war might end it, but if they did not find a solution to the Palestinian cause, if the Palestinian people did not get their freedom, another 2, 3, 4, we don't know how much war will come later, and we will come to the same point each time.
So this will keep continuing. But we have seen visuals, we've seen pictures. There is Israel that's bombing right now Gaza and the buildings there, and people are being killed. But similarly, we've seen visuals of Hamas militants roaming around the streets of Israel, West Israel especially, and civilians, women, children being dragged or shot at. What do we say about that?
War is very bad. Whatever, war is very bad. In more than one interview, I'm condemned the killing of the civilian people from both sides, if they are Palestinian or Israelis. Now what we want in general is to stop this war, make ceasefire, and to make coalition in the world, start from India to the European, to the American, to the Arabs, to make pressure against the Israelis to come to peace, because the Israelis are refusing any kind of peace. And we could easily notice that if Mr. Netanyahu map at the United Nations, that map was without the Palestinian state. So they are not recognize a Palestinian state. They are destroying the two-state solution. They are not giving the Palestinian any hope to live. Without that, they will never get peace at the same time, and we will see war from time to time.
Do you see India playing a role in this situation that has come about between Israel, between Hamas, and whatever is being played out between Palestine and Israel right now? Do you see India playing a role there?
India is a friend of both Palestine and Israel. And I think India could make pressure when I'm not against to condemn if there is mistake of this side or this side. But India also should look for both sides from the same point of view. When the Israelis confiscate land, killing people, demolishing houses, jailing people, also we are expecting India to condemn what the Israelis also are doing. Hope they could be a good mediator for both. They are accepted as Indian if they play that role.
Do you feel India is not looking at both the sides right now?
To say the truth, no. I've heard more than one time condemn an action from the Palestinian, while they have never condemned the Israeli action. Hope they will look for both from the same point of view.
And you feel that India can be a good mediator between both the countries?
Yes, India is accepted for both.
What I would also want to know from you is that Israel is saying right now, and the statements are coming from all the officials on the Israeli side, saying that we will take revenge from Hamas, we will finish off Hamas, Hamas would not exist as it is today. And then there is a perspective which says that if Hamas was not there, then the voices in Palestine that speak of peace, that speak of negotiations, that say that we can find a peaceful solution to this, would become more powerful. Do you see Hamas weakening would strengthen the peaceful forces in Palestine, and that would be good for the Palestinian cause?
Hamas, if there is a real solution to establish the state of Palestine in the land of 1967 with East Jerusalem and East Jerusalem as its capital and Gaza, Hamas will come to peace. Hamas afraid if they come to peace, they will get the same result of Oslo Agreement. Oslo Agreement, 30 years. We get nothing. They destroy the Oslo Accord. They destroy the two-state solution. They are refusing any peaceful solution with the Palestinian people. And Hamas get off that experiment with the Israelis. If there is a real peace process, Hamas will come to.
So you're saying that Hamas would not take up weapons and they will also come to the peaceful negotiation table if the promises that have been made were fulfilled. But is there a reconciliation that can happen after the situation has risen between Fatah and Hamas? Can there be a reconciliation? Can there be better relations between both?
We are working for that. We are working for the reconciliation with Hamas. And we have many meetings, and there is a mediator in that. It's from Egypt and Qatar also, and Turkey sometimes. Hope we'll get it soon also.
And this situation impacts that positively or negatively?
No. Any unity of the Palestinian people, always it's positively, sure. Now, our problem that the occupation, the Israelis are not allowing us to make election in East Jerusalem. Otherwise, we make the election in Gaza and in West Bank, and who win, we will control the country and get the power, form the government of the Palestinians.
So if there were elections, probably Fatah would come to power and maybe Hamas would not be in power in Gaza, and then the situation would be different.
There might be power in all Palestine. Any government will rule all Palestine, result of the election. But the Israelis insist not to allow us to. We call the European and the American to make pressure against the Israelis to allow us to make, as we have done more than one time, election in East Jerusalem.
What is the next step of your government, of the Palestinian government, as this situation unfolds?
The next is the first, which we are working hard to make ceasefire, to stop this war, right, and to come to the negotiation for everything.
So do you see that happening, a ceasefire happening soon? Because the kind of statements that are coming from Israel...
What we have heard from the leaders of Israel, from Netanyahu or that Minister of Defense, who want to cut food, fuel, electricity and water of 2.2 million people living in Gaza, and he called them human animals at the same time. I'm not seeing that.
Do you think this will be a prolonged fight, prolonged war? Israel has declared a war. Do you see this prolonging for a long time, or would this be a short war?
What we have heard of the Israelis, it's a long. I don't know the pressure of the world at the Israelis, because the Israelis, when we heard many leaders of European leaders that Israel has the right to defend itself according to the international law, Netanyahu understands in different way. He understands that his hand is free to do whatever in Gaza.
What you said, that you are trying for ceasefire. Is there any?
Working.
You are working towards that. Is there any positive sign that you've felt that can be achieved towards moving towards ceasefire?
To say the truth, no. I have not seen. I don't know my president. We did not get anything about that. But I know he is working very hard with the foreign minister also, with many of European and the American foreign ministers.
American ministers are also calling up all the Arab world leaders and asking them to support Israel. And there is a lot of support there. Do you think, and also a very important question, that there is this talk that Saudi Arabia and Israel getting closer was also one of the reasons why Hamas has taken this step. Do you feel that that is one reason why Hamas has taken this step? They do not want Israel and Saudi to come closer.
Do you think this operation could be done within 2-3 weeks? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think this has been planned for more than 2 years to make an operation like this one. And I don't think it hasn't any relation with the talk, let me say, or negotiation between Saudi Arabia and what we have heard and Israel. I don't think so, because this is not something you can do it within few weeks or 1 month.
My last question to you, what has happened? Does that change whatever is the relation right now, or the situation right now between Palestine and Israel? Does it change it forever? How do you see it unfolding in the near future? What changes on the ground?
I see the future. We can see many other war between the Palestinians and Israelis if the Israelis and the international community did not make pressure at the Israelis and the Palestinians get their rights, we will never see peace in the area. Because the Palestinian people, we are in West Bank and Gaza about 6 million people. We are not going to live under occupation forever, while those settlers who migrate from Russia, from Poland, from Ukraine, from Ethiopia, from all the world live as a master, and we live as slaves in our homeland.
So more wars will happen if this does not end. This situation doesn't change.
And because of that, we call the international community to make a really pressure at the Israelis and to come to the peace process. The Palestinian people should get their freedom. Otherwise, the situation will continue. And from time to time, we will see the same situation.
Israel has vowed right now that they will finish off Hamas. It would not exist in the present form. Do you think that they can achieve that?
I don't think they want also. Maybe it's difficult to achieve that, but I don't think they want. Israel want the split of the Palestinian people between Fatah and Hamas to continue. So they might make pressure by destroying the infrastructure, the building, killing people, to make some pressure against Hamas, but this is the main thing of the Israelis' target.
So you're saying that they would not want to finish off Hamas, they would put pressure by destroying buildings and infrastructure or maybe killing some leaders, but they would want this divide between Palestinian people to continue.
Yeah, because, I mean, they are doing that since 2007. The Israelis, they don't want any Palestinian unity, right? Hope this will end it as soon as possible after this war, and reconciliation will be between Fatah and Hamas, and work hard with other countries to make election in Palestine, and who will lead the Palestinian people.
Thank you very much for talking to TV9 Bharatvarsh and giving answers to all our questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and you are welcome.
Hello everyone, Namaskar, I'm music composer Ricky Cage. 3-time Grammy Award winner and a United Nations Goodwill Ambassador, and you're watching me on First Person on News9 Plus.
This and more